Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Derek. I'm so excited to have you here once again. If it's your first time on this channel, please consider subscribing. So in today's video, we're going to look at pivot tables in depth. We have looked at pivot tables in our first video and second video. And if you haven't watched them, please go and watch those videos. I'm going to leave the links in the description. Do go and watch them before you watch this. So I highly recommend that you watch the first and the second video before watching this if it's your first time. So in today's pivot tables, we are going to look at three aspects. We're going to learn how to create pivot charts. We're going to learn how to design pivot table reports, and lastly we shall look at how to insert slicers in our pivot tables. So without wasting time, let's dive into the video and see how we can do that. So in our previous videos, we had created some nice pivot tables, and that is how they were looking like. But we're going to start from scratch. We're going to go to our source data. Now we're going to insert pivot table starting afresh. Okay. So we'll go to insert, and then we insert a pivot table. Then okay. So this time I'm going to select the region, then total profit. And I make sure it is a sum. I could remove this. So I could expand this and make sure this is a number, and also try to reduce that. So for us to insert a pivot chart, we simply click within the pivot table and we go to the tab pivot table analyze, and then we go to pivot charts right here. So when you click pivot chart, it will bring quite a number of options, and depending on the data we're analyzing, for this particular data, I would choose a bar graph. So a pivot chart is kind of different from the normal charts because you can it's quite dynamic, and you could work around selecting what you want. For example, there is a button here. When you click that button, you could simply choose Asia, Europe, and maybe North America, and your pivot chart will only narrow down to that, and also that affects the pivot table. Okay, so that is how different it is. Under normal graphs, that won't happen. And here there is a button for total profit. So each of the items that you select within your pivot table will have a button. In most cases, I want to hide these buttons, and I'll just simply click in one of them and right click, and then I'll click hide all field buttons on chart. So then I remove them. So then my reports looks a little bit neat. Now, of course, I want to give my report title. I want to give this chart a title rather, not report. I want to give this chart a title. Probably is total profit. Total profit per year. So I could remove this, the legend, because now I could also resize it and size it the way I want, and I could format it like that. Let me first remove the grid lines. I don't normally like working with them. Okay, so just remember, we're trying to make sure we make a report at the same time we put in some charts that will make sense. So we could also change the colors here. We could choose that. We could also spice our tables a little bit. We could also label this region. Remember, these labels can be changed. And now we could arrange these bars in ascending and or descending order depending. So I would simply click within the pivot table, especially the values, where the values are that are representing the bar graph. So you right click and then you sort. So we could say smallest to largest or largest to smallest. So I would say maybe smallest to largest because okay, that would also work, but in this case I want largest to smallest. So then I could also work around the width of the graph. Now this is one, of course, you will learn more in our data visualization classes with how to format charts and how to deal with the designs and all that. So we could put labels in case we want. We could just simply put labels, but it would look a little bit not good. So we could leave the labels out. And that is how chart will look like. So let's create another report. So to create another report, we simply have to copy this pivot table and we can just simply put it here. Remember, this is not advisable, but for this particular lesson, we're just demonstrating because I explained the issue of overlapping in my previous videos. But here we just want to show you a simple report. Now, this time I'll select another element. I would not look at region, I'll look at the item type, and I would look at maybe total profit or total sales. Let me look at total sales this time. Total revenue, not total sales. Let's look at total revenue. So I could also, so I have to make sure that I'm under pivot table analyze, and then I click within my pivot table and then click pivot chart. So this time we would go with the horizontal bar, and I could remove this. Could also remove these. You could hide them. Then we could increase the size of these bars to around 50. We could also change the color. Now we could also change the way, because right now they're not looking nice. They're really, we can't tell which one is having the highest total revenue in a really chronological order. So really want to sort them in largest to smallest. Okay, now this time we need to do smallest to largest, then to arrange them like that. So this one looks nice. Could also give it a title, the total sales, total revenue. This is the revenue from the sales per item. Okay. So we so far have two graphs, and that is how we create pivot tables also create pivot charts with pivot tables, and they're looking really nice to me. This report is looking nice. I could also work on the design of the table, change this to blue so that it looks a little bit nice. I could also change this label and it looks a little bit nice. And of course, we're kind of developing actually a dashboard indirectly, but we're learning how to create pivot charts within pivot tables. So let's try to create another graph, and this time I would put my pivot chart here. So be aware, I don't advise this, but I'm just teaching you how to create multiple charts on if you're interested in making charts anyway. So this time we could look at total profit, total revenue per sales channel, because we have the online channel and then the offline channel. So I could just click within there and then I would go to pivot table analyze and then click pivot charts. So this time I would choose a pie chart I'll choose this one. I could go with this, and it could work. So I hide these buttons, and then because I could make the legend go on top. So when you click the legend to go on top, it goes on top. So I would give this a title, maybe total revenue per, sales channel. Okay, so we could also do modifications on this, of course. We could do modifications on this. We could drag it, put it here, and that is how amazing pivot tables can be. So we could work around the design of this. Could give it a format. So according to the sales report, almost we're having a 50% contribution from the offline and the online. So there's no significant difference. So this is already informing your report making pivot tables. You could consider using tables or graphs. So let's create another graph. So we simply copy this, and then we could put it anywhere, guys. We don't really need to limit ourselves. Anywhere. Okay. So this time, what are we looking at? Let's try to look at the country, and then look at profit. I think that's okay. So that's quite long. That's quite long. Yeah, so that's quite really long. So let's look at the country and the profit. So here we could insert um, we could insert a bar graph, but this is too long. We may not be able to really represent each country. There are very many countries. We could, let's try and see. You could see that. So see that. That is how it's looking like. It's really looking like a lot of small bars there beyond recognition, but it could still be part of your report if you're interested. Let's just drag it, put it here, and just you give it a title, remove these buttons, then you could give this a title. This is total profit per country. Okay, so we could also arrange this in ascending order. You go to sort, and then you go to largest to smallest. So from your report, you're able to tell that Sabia actually is generating a lot of this is total revenue, I think. Yeah, I think we chose total revenue, total profit. So this is total profit. So from this graph, you could tell that Sabia is generating a lot of profit amongst all the countries, and you could also tell that I think last country here is Turkey. I think it should be Turkey. Turkey is generating the lowest, I think. Let's just double check in our graph. Okay. So yeah, so Turkey is generating the lowest income. So that could also work. So that is how you could design simple reports with pivot tables. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to apply slices. We're going to apply slices. We're going to apply slices. Yeah, so the next thing we're going to look at is how to insert slices in pivot tables. Now we already have a report. It's ready, but we need to show our managers or bosses that we can actually present this, and it's dynamic. We can pick different aspects of the report depending on what we want. So to insert slices, we need to click in the pivot table. You click in any of the pivot tables because we want to create slices that can be linked to every chart that we have in here. So for us to insert slices, we click within the pivot table. Make sure you click within the pivot table. Then you go to pivot table analyze. Then there's insert slices right here. Now it will bring a pop-up for you to select which slices you would want. So slices basically they slice your data. It's just slicing your data. So how do you want to do the slicing? Is it by region? Is it by country? Is it by item type? And we could choose just 3 of these or 4, maybe. Yeah, of course some will not be applicable, but these are applicable at least. So let's click OK. You could choose 1, you could choose 3. So this is how slicers look like. And let me put them here. Let me try to create some space here. Let me put region first. You could size them, you resize them the way you want, and also you could change their color. Go to right hand slicers, you could change their color the way you want. Okay, so each of the slicer, I'm going to give it a different color. Good. Let's okay. This one I'll give it this color. Then now the beauty of slicers, you could also define what you want in your column slices. So let's say I don't want this to appear vertically like this. I would maybe want some to be horizontal. So when you realize, when you click here 2, it creates 2 columns. So I could say 3, I could say 3, I could say 4, say like that. And I would also expand this, and then I'm able to create a slicer which looks like that. Okay, let me try to expand this. I want to make sure they fit within here and they are really visible. Okay, I think that's okay. That's okay. Then the last one is the sales channel. Now we could also change the columns and then it will appear like that. Let's give it another color. Okay, so that is how easy you can create pivot tables, pivot charts, then insert slicers. Now what do slicers do? Let's click in any of these slicers. Let's click Asia. So when you click Asia, something has happened. You see the table only picks Asia. The graph only picks Asia because this graph is linked to this table. So, but realize other graphs are not changing. Realize other graphs are not changing when you click Europe. Now, some graphs are not changing. They are not changing at all. It's only this which is changing. So that takes us to the next step of linking these slices. Let's click the item type and see. So that graph has changed. This graph is changing, and still it's all picking from this, because remember we used this table to make our slicer. So it's only this slicer and everything linked to it that will change. Same when you click offline, it will show you the items that actually relate with offline. So and the sales and all that. So it will only deal with one slicer. So we need to link all these slices so that they can communicate with each other. So to do that, we need to individually go to each slicer, we right click, then we shall look for report connections. Alternatively, you could find those report connections under slicer here, and then you click report connections. And then what you do, you make sure that all the pivot tables that you have within your report, if you want them to all be linked, then you link them. Now, in most cases, it's good to name these pivot tables so that you're able to know which pivot table you're dealing with. But of course, we shall be covering those incidences and how to do that in our next videos. So now we have linked this slicer to the rest of the slicers and the pivot tables. So it's loading, it's linking. You can wait. So we do the same for this. Go to report connections and then make sure you take everything out. It's not a must to take everything. Definitely it will depend. Here I'm taking everything because I'm assuming I don't, everything here is supposed to be linked, but the incidences where you don't have to take everything, you have to take only pivot tables that you want to link. So but here I'm interested in linking everything. I'm linking everything because I want to link everything. So make sure that all the slices that you want to communicate with your data are linked. Now we're linking these. Make sure they're all linked. Okay. So precisely we're able to link all our pivot tables, and that is how our report is looking like. Now we could try to select Asia and we see what happens. So when you click Asia, it will only bring Asia here, and it will only bring Asia for this graph for total revenue per sales channel. It will only bring Asia. Then when you look at the total profit per country here, you cannot find an American country here because we selected Asia. Same for these other graphs. So let's try to click Europe. So same, when you click Europe, the magic happens. So we can click country, a particular country, to see what happens. So every time we click within the slicer, for us to make sure we undo that, we need to clear the filter so that we can do another selection, and then we're able to select more options. So we could select country this time, Andorra. Now it's only bringing Andorra here. Everything is Andorra, everything. So that is how interesting slices could be. So we click this unfilter button to unfilter that. Then we could also try the item, probably cosmetics. Then it will bring only data about cosmetics. So that is how interesting pivot tables can be. So thank you so much guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and watch out for our next videos on pivot tables. Please comment, click that like button if you like the video. You can advise. But in our next video we're going to look at still pivot tables, but this time we're going to be a little bit more advanced. Hope to see you then.